So yeah, you're tired of me hearing that 25-cent word caveat and say, get on with it. I'm going to. What are some of those exceptions that, the gods and the males are logical and the females are all erratic and crazy with chaos? Well, one is, of course, Athena herself. Athena is the goddess of wisdom. And the fact that she is a goddess of wisdom is a holdover from the Pelasgians in the Titan cult, wherein, the goddesses were embodied wisdom, and Metis, her mother, was the goddess of wisdom. Athena is logical and rational, but it belies her female status. Athena, again, has this logic and reason because she springs from the from the brain of Zeus. And as a result, she has no mother, so she's not tainted by that chaos of being born in the natural way. In the Orestia, which you were supposed to read about in Graves, she also says that she is always for her father. She always supports the male point of view. And by remaining celibate, and she is a virgin, and remember I mentioned in the PowerPoint that virgin didn't always mean a woman, and virgin usually applies to female. It didn't always mean a woman who had not had sex, but a woman who was independent and autonomous. But within Athena and Artemis's case, it both meant they did not have connubial bliss with any man. So Athena denies that which makes her a woman. She denies her ability to procreate. And that would have been, the main gain of procreation, besides pleasure, was to have children. And that was the function of women within the Greek society. So Athena's femininity really is almost a sham. It's almost a falsehood, because she's always for the father. She denies that, touch with, motherhood, etc. That doesn't mean that she doesn't have some emotional aspects, of course. When she and Arachne have the weaving contest, that is really Athena being a little bit petty and upset because Arachne said that she was a better weaver, or spinner, than Athena. So even the goddess of wisdom has these lapses. What are some other exceptions? Ares, big exception. Ares is the god of war, and he is ruled by emotion and ruled by chaos. He is not even the general who is logical, plotting out his wars. No. He is extremely chaotic, and the Greeks disliked chaos, and they really disliked Ares. They had a certain grudging respect, for lack of a better word, for him because of his, station within the gods, the god of war. Ares' sister's name was Eris, and she was the goddess of discord, and they didn't like her any better, and of course she was the reason why the war between the Trojans and the Greeks happened. So Ares is certainly an exception to that logic of the male gods. Now, Apollo, of course, is the epitome of logic, as represented by the sun, but Dionysus is a totally different story. Dionysus is quite an interesting character, and within the modern world, we didn't realize how important he was to the Greeks, and not only to the Greeks, because in his body of myth, it is said that he goes to India to introduce wine there. Dionysus is chaotic. He is the god of wine, and he is revered for that. Now, when you see the Roman Bacchus, that is really a degeneration of Dionysus, because Bacchus is most often portrayed as being this little roly-poly drunk man, but that's not Dionysus. Dionysus was a very handsome young man, and though he was, the inventor of wine and first cultivated the grapes, he wasn't a drunkard. He wasn't a sot. And in one aspect, his chaos is connected with the wine, but is also connected for other reasons. One, Dionysus was gestated in Zeus's thigh, which gave him his sexual nature. But when he was young, and if you remember the myth of Zagreus and how humans, one variation of the myth on how humans was created, the Titans tore Zagreus, slashed Dionysus to pieces, and at Hera's behest, and then Zeus reconstituted him so he became a dying and resurrected deity. And after that, there is a variation of course, there are many variations on many of these myths. And one of the myths is said that he was sent to live in the women's quarters of a king and a queen, and was disguised as a female, and lived there for many years. So what was he constantly surrounded by? Yeah, that chaotic influence. And that, I believe, is one reason why Dionysus manifests the chaos. Many of Dionysus's followers were women, and there was even one sect that were called the Maenads, composed entirely of females. And they could have been any female. They could have been me. They could have been, the female people who were watching me, the next door neighbor. But the Maenads, one night a year, they would run through the countrysides of Greece, and they would tear apart any male who stood in their way, sometimes with disastrous and very sad consequences that I won't go into right now. But it was this chaos released. I believe it was from the suppression of the female ego. And, it's got to come out sometime. And that was one of the few outlets that it had. Graves said that the Maenads ate hallucinogenic mushrooms. And that was what gave them this frenzy, in the same way that it is very commonly accepted now that the berserkers within the Vikings ingested ergo, which caused them to have their bravery and to run into battle as crazily as they did. So even within that almost strict division between the females in darkness and chaos, males, the light, logic, and reason, you had exceptions. As we still have exceptions to to everything in the universe. I don't live in the rest of the universe, I really don't know. But at least keep this in mind about chaos and logic and reason.